Hello, hello. I'm Capstone the Dorks, and today we have a fun setup for you. Right now we have leggystarscream and HabKeineName racing. Should be really fun. I believe Hab is doing 3 races, almost back to back, with a short time between them. Um, so it should be pretty fun. I believe the second one is on this stream. His third race. I'm not sure if it's on SpeedGaming 2 or the channel yet. All right, and off we go. Good luck, buddy. So for Final Fantasy 1, much like the other Pixel remasters after it, you start off with a about 2-minute cutscene here, which explains essentially what's happening with the word K and whatnot, and kind of gives us a basis for what we need to do. All right, so here you'll see we're starting out in the town of Cornelia. We're going to see both of our runners pick up their starting gear for the game. They're picking up 1 rapier, they're picking up 1 chainmail, and they're going to be picking up 2 spells, um, essentially leaving the fighter with armor and his weapon. The monk is going to end up not having any items at all, and the 2 black mages most likely are going to get thunder here. Uh, Very good setup since most enemies in the game don't have any type of immunity to thunder, or they're susceptible to thunder, while fire and ice, some enemies have protection against it, while others are just going to be not susceptible at all. It's going to be a very good starting spell. Whereas the monk, without items on, without anything in his hands, he's actually going to do more damage than what he would do with items in, and also get more defense than having any armor here. So we get to save a little bit of gil and have a better character overall. Well, it looks like Leggy might have a thief instead of a monk. I'm not sure if that's intended or if that was a character choice mistake here. We're going to see both sets going in the Garland. Garland should usually turn out to be a 2-turn fight. Can be very reset heavy depending on who he decides to target. And both through Garland. Oh, looks like Lady's going to reset here. Must have noticed the mistake there with the Thief choice over the Monk choice. Well, we have Hab having picked up the loot, which we're not going to use until much later in the game. But since we're only one step away, it's much better to get it now than coming all the way back up into the castle. And here on Hab's screen, we're seeing the prophecy essentially being fulfilled, where the Warriors of Light need this bridge to cross to continue on in their adventure. And so they're building this bridge for the Warriors of Light. This is going to be one of 4 cutscenes where essentially you get a small break. We have the beginning cutscene that we saw that we're seeing right now on Leggy's screen. We have this bridge building scene right here. We have one when we cross the bridge, and we have one more later on near Dwarf Cave. And other than that, there's no real other breaks in this run. So pretty much all the breaks and cutscenes that we have available to us are early on, and the runners will have to just keep going through the rest of the game after that. So I believe both runners are going to be doing a pretty similar route, usually referred to as the double black mage route, because they are the star of the show for the majority of the run. Early on, it's very, very dependent on what you get for Gil, so you might see some farming here if they don't get the proper encounters with good Gil drops. That's another reason why there's very, very minimal pickup initially when they go to fight Garland, because they're saving a lot of that for later on, so that they can pivot into how many of each item they're going to take when we go down into Marsh Cave. It looks like Lady's getting a 5 goblin encounter. Generally not too bad of an encounter. It's not going to give us our first level up, but it shouldn't take too long. In contrast, you can get a 9 enemy encounter, which could lose you about 30 seconds or more. I'm getting first encounter off the bridge. Looks to be 3 goblins. Not too bad of a first encounter. No thunders cast. You have the option in this walk to Provoca, if you don't cast any thunders, to skip the end entirely. That usually is very dependent on the encounters you get. And it looks like for Lizard, we're going to be casting Thunder here. Should be a 1-turn clear. It looks like Lady's gonna have to load a quick save from a death on Garland. And next we have a Gigas fight. Oh, and it killed the first mage here. It's not entirely bad to have a dead mage here. You ensure the rest of your team is essentially at least level 3, but you're going to have to spend a little bit of your gil on a revive. And to note, every town you go to, the next town over, is going to have an increased cost for the inn and increased cost for revives at the church. So it's going to get a little pricey, with Phoenix Downs being 500 gil. The church is going to be the least expensive option, but the churches are definitely going to get more expensive as we go. Not too expensive here, but that definitely hurts skill early on. And it looks like Garland's going to give the 2-turn to Leggy without any deaths. So there is a drop off of Garland that's very rare, that can help you run later on. It's the long sword. You can give that to your fighter, so the fighter can do a lot of damage until we end up petrifying them. Here on HabKeineName, we're going into Pirates. This is an encounter we have to take to get the boat to continue on with our adventure. Alright, so I'm making it. I'm going to take a pit stop in Cornelia to use the inn to up the HP on our characters, as well as replenish spell charges. This sailing across the sea down to Alpine is very important for Gil and for experience before we do our March Cave Dive. We want to see our mages in particular about level 7 by then. As well as we need at least 1,000 gil to get our first Thundara, and 100 gil for the inn to use down to replenish charges, as well as additional gil. Depends runner by runner how much you take, but the more gil the merrier there. Because we're going to need to pick up potions, antidotes, and maybe even a tent or an ether there for our walk down into Marsh Cave, and eventually our walk up to the Western Keep for Astos. Well, it looks like we're short for Thundara. Looks like I was going to go back out and farm some encounters. The land encounters generally here don't give a lot of gil or experience, so we're seeing Hob fleeing. Generally, you'll see the runners go back out to the sea, because overall, you're going to have a better chance at getting gil there over anything else. Looks like Hob's going to go for a quick in before they head back out. But the encounters we're looking for here on land, we have a very low chance of getting 2 ogres and a ogre chief, which is going to give us 690 gil. Very, very welcomed encounter. or 3 or 5 Buccaneers out at sea. Usually clear pretty fast. We got the 3 here. It's going to give 120 gil per pirate, or sorry, per Buccaneer. Very welcome sight at this moment. What you will notice is essentially for Final Fantasy 1 the same enemies, just in different colors, representing either being a tougher or weaker enemy. We saw the pirates earlier, and here we're seeing the slightly stronger Buccaneers that are going to give much more experience and much more gil. And Leggy getting here, we're getting 5 wolves. We're going to flee that encounter. It's very unfortunate. Usually that third encounter, you usually get 3 encounters on your walk to Provoca. You really want to be level 4 here. It's going to give the fighter an extra hit. It's going to give the monk some more damage to be able to dish out. But you can definitely take it at level 3. Looks like Leggy's going to pick up Temper. One of the things we'll need later on when we're fighting the Fiends and Chaos at the end. Very good to pick up here because you can use it on a few other bosses if you pick it up early, as well as we don't have to come back. I'm doing a little more grinding here. This is probably the only area you're going to see anybody grind, unless we're a little short, maybe 1 encounter in a town later on. The rest of the run is taking the encounters as they come, and toward the end of the game, hopefully, if all the characters are where they need to be HP-wise, then we'll see a bunch of fleeing in the Temple of Fiends, just to quicken up the pace a little bit. One of the drops that you would hope to see on the Pirates too, the Pirates have a chance of dropping a Saber, which is good for the fighter, gives the fighter a little extra damage. It's not as good as the longsword drop from Garland, but very welcome here. You can get it a little bit early. We get it about 10 minutes after the Pirates fight. You can get it a little bit early here. It helps for the sea encounters, and also there's the chance of a leather shield drop. Neither of these good for Gil, but it gives the fighter a little more damage, and the leather shield gives the fighter a chance to essentially evade attacks, which helps for potion usage later on. Maybe getting a 3 Buccaneer fight. Very welcome sight here. It's very hard to get enough Gil without Buccaneer fights going down. We either want to see Buccaneer fights, or we want to see the Sahuagin Chiefs here. Both very good for Gil. We don't want to see too many of the Sahuagin Chiefs, or else we'll probably see also 2 Sharks. A very scary encounter, 2 Sharks and 3 Chiefs. That can wipe you very early, or leave you with a couple dead characters. Leggy going up into Cornelia to use the inn. And Hob doing a little more grinding here. In contrast, these green Sahuagins, very low experience, very low Gil. They can come in much larger packs. We can see them in packs of 6 with 2 of the eyes. Generally a fight that's just going to take a lot of time if you take it, and not a lot to show. And we see that scary encounter here on Leggy's screen. Looks like it was able to clear out 2 of the Chiefs early, and we get another Shark. Looks like there shouldn't be too much of a problem here, but you can see those Sharks hitting for 34. They can also crit here and wipe these mages in 1 to 2 turns, depending if they all gang up on the black mages early. Another good fight here for Leggy. You get 2 Chiefs and 1 Shark. Hob having to farm a little more, not getting any luck really with any of these encounters. No big Gil drops. essentially what the runners were most likely hoping for here was just a couple of 5 Buccaneer fights. They have more than enough gil. They're able to pick up their Thundara and items and head on their way. What's nice about having the Thundara here for Hob is able to clear these sea encounters, usually in one turn. Very fast clears, speeds up the farming a lot compared to the single physical attacks and the single target thunders. And here we see an interesting fight for Leggy. Thundara doing some really good work for that one turn. Not a lot of gil going to be dropped there. The sharks individually only give about 66 gil, but they do give a lot of experience, so it's very good for leveling up here. The caveat in having to grind for gil here is we should have level 8, level 9 going down in the Marsh Cave. We should have another Thundara on the mage, which is nice. Each player will have an extra use here to use as they wish. We need 1 to 2 when we head down to fight the Pisco Demons. But a third one is very welcome. Generally, we're not going to see too many good fights on our walk down. The one we don't want to see is Scorpions. They can hit really hard and also apply a poison effect to our characters and really eat into those antidotes we bought. Depending on how much gil we have, I'm not sure how many antidotes Hob got or how many Leggy got, but we can quickly see those dwindle away. There's a lot of different encounters here that can apply the poison effect. Here we see that fighter getting hit pretty hard, getting poisoned. That's exactly why we have the fighter here, to just take a bunch of damage. In contrast, if it was on those mages probably would be needing a Phoenix down right about now. Luckily, on the 3rd floor of Marsh Cave, there is a Phoenix down, there is an extra potion, there is a cottage. I'm not getting any luck with these Scorpions. The other scary fight we don't hope to see is the Gargoyles. They can hit pretty hard. If they target the fighter in the first slot, we're going to get pretty good luck with them. And Hob looks to have taken it with Thundara spell. Very good for experience, but can be a little scarier when they're just dishing out damage. I'm getting a really nice start. That Pisco Demon fight, very scary fight. Getting a preemptive is very welcome here. It allows you to get a little extra damage in, get that Thundara off, and try to clear the Pisco Demons. With the preempt, Thundara has a chance of low rolling, but with 3 other characters, you're assured almost to clear out 3 of those Pisco Demons, leaving 1 left. And 1 is definitely a lot less scary than all 4. We're seeing the reverse side of the coin on Leggy's screen right now, where the Pisco Demons were able to take out the fighter and a black mage. Looks like Leggy's going to reset. We only have that 1 Phoenix down at this point that we picked up. It costs 500 to buy, so you're not going to see almost no one pick up an extra Phoenix down before coming down. It's very expensive. Oh, we got a preemptive here for Leggy on the second encounter. Yeah, so we're going to be able to see a little bit of setup on damage. The nice high roll on one that wasn't targeted, and the fighter taking out the last. Very nice fight. So now both of our players have gotten the crown. And should be leaving Marsh Cave. You might have seen Leggy save there right after that fight. Both before and after. So with Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster, there are autosaves that will save when you enter a new room or a new state of the game, but not during the floor. So without that save, death would, or a reset would start back up right before that Pisco Demon fight. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of quick saves here today, just to increment the walks on these long screens. And here's just RNG luck coming into play here. Leggy got a lot of good fights. Hab got not a lot of good fights on the sea coming down to Elfheim. And we're pretty much back neck and neck. And so we're just seeing the walk up to Western Keep at the moment. Leggy did get a really good fight for Gillen experience, but probably not set up to take it. So I had to flee from that, which is very okay here. Saves a lot of time not having to take that fight. And the potion for Astos. Leggy's going to go in and use potions while we see Hab here using a tent. Not a wrong way to do it on either account. Just different setups here. Leggy most likely has Temper to use, where I don't believe Hab picked up Temper. So a few different strategies on Astos here. There's the Temper strat, there's also a slight variation of the Temper strat. You can see both the Fighter and the Monk tempered, or you could see just the Monk tempered. Looks like Leggy's going to go for the double temper. Splitting it between. Now it looks like Hab's also going to do that. Then also after you have both fighters buffed here, you can use a round of Thundaras, a round of Thunders. That's where the tent comes into play. The tent is going to recharge 2 of those spell slots, so we should see 2 Thundara spells. Kind of buffing it, which really helps against if Astos decides to slow the party. And we have the first Astos clear from Hab. There's another drop here. There's a Mithril Sword that has a better chance of dropping than the Longsword. Can also help out. It's not as good because the fighter here is going to be petrified soon, but it's definitely a welcome sight. You can sell it for money, or we can use it for a little bit to help through our first dive into Earth Cave. And Leggy also able to pull off a clear here. Looks like the fighter's the last one alive. No Mithril drop today. Hab has 2 more runs later today, so maybe there's a good chance we might see a Mithril drop. I believe it's a 4% chance. Looks like Leggy is not not confident with that fighter being up. Just going to go ahead and resave, or reload that save here, and give Astos another go. Hoping to have a few more characters up. Astos is a very good experienced fight here. Having those black mages up right now, having the monk up is very good for getting a proper level for our Earth Cave dive. With the temper strat, the slow is not what we're hoping to see. What slow is going to do essentially, it doesn't lower damage, it lowers the hit multiplier for your character. Each character starts off with a ×1 hit multiplier. Having haste applied goes to ×2. It drops it down to ×0, but defaults with 1 hit. So unfortunately, we don't have haste at this moment, so we can't counter that by casting haste. We're going to have to buff with temper, just hoping that the attacks are able to buff up the monk to do some big hits here. Astos luckily only has 420 health. And we see that clear with a very good configuration for Leggy, the monk, and the 2 black mages. Fighter being petrified doesn't need experience. So very good experience share here. So the name of the game as we continue on is health. We're hoping to see good HP growth on the mages and the monk. The fighter's going to stay petrified, so we're not concerned about their health at all. They're essentially just our first meat shield while they're alive, and once they're petrified, the perfect meat shield. As petrified characters in this game can be targeted. It's always a miss, no matter what spell or attack is cast. So they're always a target. So really good for single target spells and attacks. Unfortunately, they do take a share of the experience, but being petrified and taking up a target is very fortunate for us, as we have to use less potions, which is going to save us money in the end. And we got Joel Tonic here on home screen, while Leggy's in Elfheim, reviving the group, and probably heading up to grab Joel Tonic as well. So for HP, we really want at least 300 on the monk, 240 on the black mages going into chaos. Having more is great, but that's usually the bare minimum that you want to survive a few of those AoE spells. It's very good to have more HP as well going into different areas of the game, just so our mages take less damage. But with petrified characters, the fighter in the top slot is going to take up a 50% targeting. The monk is going to take a 25%, and the 3rd and 4th slot are going to take up 12.5% equally. So having both of those slots petrified later on in the game is going to help with targeting. There's still that 25% chance of targeting any of the bottom slots, but a lot lower helps out a lot here. Looks like we have a contrast in strategy here on these C encounters. We still have a guild deadline we want to meet. Looks like Leggy's going for a take or flee kind of attempt to make up a little bit of time. Where essentially you see that Thundara cast. So if it goes off, great. We're going to get the kill. We're going to get that experience. We're going to get that kill. The rest of the characters are going to flee. So if we flee, we're going to be able to grab that time. Where opted to do the Thundara defend. So definitely committing to the fight to finish it, get the kill, get the experience. Yeah, we see the first Mystic Key gotten by Ob. This key is going to allow us to unlock a room back up in Cornelia, which allow us to get a key item to progress in the game, as well as a plethora of chests we're going to be able to get. There are 3 chests here if you look on Leggy's screen. We're going to be able to get 2 more potions, 1 more antidote, which can be very helpful depending on how many we bought, how many we used earlier on. It might let us skip having to go back to Cornelia and just go straight down to Elfheim. 4 chests in the Elfheim Castle. And then we're going to see, I believe, 8 chests. Excuse me, it's going to be 6 chests in the Cornelia Castle. It's going to be 8 chests later on in Dwarf Cave. So here on screen, we're going to see a few pickups. One of them is going to be a saber. Another one's going to be some bronze gloves and some armor. And most important being the nitro powder, the key item that helps us continue on. Our fighter's going to get slightly better gear. Going to get that saber to do more damage. Should help out a little bit in Earth Cave. We're hoping to get the fighter petrified in Earth Cave. We do have 2 dives into it. First dive is going to be down to the 3rd floor to fight a vampire. The game will not let you progress past a tile that needs to be lifted, but you're able to pick up a star ruby. Head on over, get the earth rod to continue down so we can fight our first fiend, the Lish. You're going to see our first major buy menu here in Cornelia. Going to be picking up some potions. Looks like we picked up 2 extra Phoenix Downs. We pick up some ethers. There's some extra antidotes here, and some golden needles. And this is going to be our only items that we can buy up through Earth Cave. The town nearby does not have a item shop, does not have a church, so we're very dependent on staying alive. And if we need to revive, we're going to be using those very pricey 500 gil Phoenix Downs. Looks like Leggy's still trying to make up some time with that Flea Thundara split. By now, you have both mages have Thundara. Can do a quick 1-turn clear on the sea. Clear those encounters fast, as Flea does not have a 100% chance to have you flee. Your flee check could miss, and you can end up just giving turns to the random encounters. In contrast, Thundara, it'll take a little time to cast, not as fast as a Flea, as you have the wind scream at the end of the fight, but it will definitely get you out of there within 1 turn. Leggy going to Cornelia for their item buy. Looks like they're a little bit lower on gil here. We have those 2 items we do get to sell. But 7,600, probably with the Buccaneer fights from earlier, definitely in a good spot. Looks like both runners are going to opt for an extra Phoenix Down. Usually we only see 2 Phoenix Downs here just because they're so pricey, but 3 is definitely welcome. As again, we do not have a church in Melbourne. As we head down in Earth Cave, we definitely want both of those mages alive. You see on screen, having blown up the passageway to the inner sea, we're now allowed to essentially pillage this treasure room here, and we're going to get 2 additional items we can sell. We're going to get an extra cottage that we can either choose to sell or use later on. A little bit of money, a little bit of extra items. But that's going to essentially be our fodder here to sell to getting our next spell, which is going to be a Frogga charge. So if we're in this game, you don't see any MP value, so we're not using MP. For Pixel Remaster, they decided to go with a number of spell charges per spell level, and then depending on the level of the character, depends on how many charges you get. So at level 12, we're going to see our first Frogga being able to be used. You can buy it early if you don't have the slots, but you won't actually have that first spell charge until level 12 for the Black Mages. For this game, there's certain levels where spell charges start unlocking. Typically the next level after that, so level 13, we're going to get our second Frogga charge. And then at 15, we're going to see that 3rd charge. 18, if we get lucky to get there, we'll see the 4th charge before Lish. You see that cell here on home screen. And going down to pick up the Froggas. They cost 4,000 each. We have also an option, if we have enough money here, to go up to the armor shop and pick up some silver armlets. Some good armor early on for black mages. Usually you won't see enough gil to buy those, however. There is another strategy. I'm not sure if either of the runners decided to take it, but you can also buy fire charges or spells in Alpine before you leave. So at this point, we have a lot of undead that we're going to be fighting in Earth Cave. They are susceptible to fire damage. So fire is going to assure us a turn 1 clear, where Thundara, based upon our level, and based upon how we roll, could underroll. We could need 2 Thundaras compared to 1 fire being needed in that case. So for this game, there is a stat threshold for the mages. We simply just call it threshold, but it's at the point where the black mages, who start at 20 intellect, reach 30 intellect. Their spell charges are going to do about 50% more. It's going to assure a lot more clears on these enemies with 1 spell charge, and save us from having to use ethers to replenish spell charges as soon. So we're going to see a few different encounters here down in Earth Cave on screen. We're going to see a lot of the characters, the undead that we saw earlier. The smaller characters, they can fill up to 9 slots, where the Minotaurs are going to take up more than 1 slot. So if we see a Minotaur, we're not going to be able to see 9 of those guys here. Same for these ogres. You see how they're taking out slightly more slots. We can see up to 6 ogres here. So we're trying to get a lot of good levels here to get our fire charges ready. We need at least 1 Firaga charge per mage for the vampire on the 3rd floor. And we're going to need at least 3 charges per mage for a total of 6 for Lich later on. So not only are we trying to get those levels for these charges, we are also trying to get gil, because we do have another buy menu as we continue on. So taking counters here is not only important for experience, but we also want to make sure we have enough gil to be able to buy those spell charges as well as more items later on. I'm showing the importance of antidotes. So if you were to leave your characters poisoned, it's going to have that same effect as you might be familiar with from Pokemon, where if you're walking on that overworld map, your characters are going to take 1 point of damage each step until they're down to 1 HP. They don't die, but that leaves them very susceptible for the next fight. And we see save here on the 3rd floor. So the 3rd floor here, we're going to start to see what we hope to see is cockatrices. Cockatrices have a chance to apply Petrify on hit. That's going to get the petrification on the top 2 slots we're hoping to see, but can also turn sideways if the black mages get petrified. They're going to have a little bit more resistance to it, but that's why we bought the extra gold needles. So large contrast in experience and gil from fights. These Hilgogosses are the best per character experience you can find. So very nice to take. And then we still have Pisco Demons showing up here, as you saw on up screen. We can get a 2, 3, or 4 pack. Depending on how many you get there, you might take it, you might flee. So it's very situational. And we see that first cockatrice encounter on Leggy's screen. So we're usually going to see a full defend from all characters. Oh, and really nice petrification. First round. Gonna go ahead and clear the fight for experience and end it pretty quick. What we could also see is those black mages
It can be a little terrifying. See how those black mages start to get petrified, and put you into a little bit of an awkward predicament. You can choose to Golden Needle during the battle if you don't have that fighter and monk petrified already. But that leaves you again to get petrified on that character and end up using up all your Golden Needles. So it's very situational, leaving your characters petrified until end of battle, or go ahead and clearing those out and hope to get the petrification on the proper slots. And we're seeing both runners queuing up that vampire fight almost simultaneously here. I don't believe either one picked up fire, so we're going to see a lot of ether preservation. Very tame vampire fight. Vampire can go ahead and hit the monks. Vampire can go ahead and hit the black mages there, slowing down that fight. But it looks like he decided to let both the runners get through unscathed. And we're seeing Ob getting that 4 encounter Cockatrice fight. Nice petrification on the fighter, turn 1. Me personally, I like the monk getting petrified first, because you will see that top slot get targeted, and a lot of misses there. So now we're seeing that the contrast and good RNG look here for petrification. Oh, but we got both through. That was a pretty good petrification. It can go on for quite a while. We definitely want to take it early on. Our characters are more susceptible to getting petrified when they're a lower level. The higher we get, the harder it's going to be to get our characters petrified. So again, since our closest item shop is back in Cornelia, I doubt either runner is going to choose to go back there if they can help it. But Ether Preservation is the name of the game here in Earth Cave. After we get out of here, we can usually buy pretty close to max, or at least enough ethers, not having to worry later on. But here in Earth Cave, it definitely comes into play. So what you'll usually see, we have both that Thundara and the Frogga charged by now, is they'll clear out so they have at least one used spell charge for each spell. That way Ether has the maximum amount of rejuvenation. We're able to rejuvenate a level 3 spell for that Thundara and a level 5 spell for that Frogga with that one Ether, compared to if we had all of our Frogga charges in level 5 filled, that Ether is going to be half wasted. So we're going to see a lot of spells switch up here between Froggas and Thundaras as we go down. Both runners almost out. They're going to next be making their way over to grab the Earth Rod to take care of the tile, to then come back down for their second dive to face the Lich. One thing that we're really hoping for here is to see some lesser tigers. They have a 2% chance to drop an X Potion, which is a max health restore, which we'll need later on. I'm hoping to get at least one of those. If we get one of those here, we won't have to go out of our way to pick one up on the world map. Usually saves at least a minute. Here's where that Star Ruby pickup behind the Vampire comes into play, feeding it to this Golem here. Golem's going to go ahead and get out of the way, allow us to head on over to pick up that Earth Rod. Not too worried about spell charges here, because on the overworld map, we can use a tent, we can use a cottage, and replenish spell charges pretty easily, where while we're in the dungeon, we can't use those. Here's our first Earth Rod on Leggy's screen. Seeing a lesser tiger fight here on the hub screen. So what we could do here for these tigers, we can do double Thundara, we can use our Faragas, we can use Thundara and Thunder. We have a lot of different variations depending on how many spell charges we have left. And Leggy here getting a lesser tigers fight. No X potion drop. Again, very low odds to get it, so the more lesser tiger fights, the merrier we want to see here. Usually the walk to Earth Rod is our only chance of getting an X potion drop. Other than that, we're going to have to go on, head over to the Isles to pick up an X potion. There's also an elixir over there. There's a cottage. There's a tent. There's a good amount of money. So it's not too bad to miss the lesser tigers. It definitely smooths out how much gil you have. But it's definitely a lot faster to not have to go over there. And Leggy's starting the second dive into Earth Cave. And hub. Going ahead and cottage up. Is that one cottage we saved? While tents have a limit on what they can restore, cottages are essentially a restore all on the world map. We're going to get full charges for our spells and full HP. The plus side to that is it does not cure petrification, so we're going to be able to leave our fighter and our monk petrified. Yeah, the mages definitely are putting in the work here. Now in our second dive, we're going to be hoping to see at least level 15 mages. Not too hard to get to the level 15 mark here. A little bit harder to get to that level 12 mark earlier before Vampire. But if we can get to level 18, if we can hit that damage threshold, it's going to smooth out that fight a little bit. Without a fourth charge, we're going to have to switch to Thundara to finish off Lish. Going to take a fourth turn. With that intellect being 30 on at least one of the mages, we're going to be able to usually see a Lich clear within 3 turns. But we don't exactly need to be level 15 yet. Let's see. Yep, level 15. Alright, right here, right for Lich. We're going to have 3 charges. Looks like about 30,000 gil. Usually you're not too pressed for level 15. If you're not there by the time you get the Lich, you can usually take 1 extra encounter. Get where you need to go. It's very important. It's essentially the minimum for Lich. Without that spell slot, it makes Lich really scary to go against. Lich has a few things. We're going to see that Thundara spell. Oh, back-to-back Thundara spell. Doing 100 damage there. So we're going to be able to tank 1. We're hoping to see a few of the other spells. Slow is a great one. Stun can be nice. Hold can be okay as well. Essentially anything other than that AoE Thundara spell. There's the nicety of having that quick save. We're able to just go back into the fight right away. Looks like no threshold, doing both 190. Slow is great. Slow does not affect spell charges. That's a physical debuff. We're going to get that third turn off. Spell change to Thundara. And there's our Lich clear for Leggy. First Fiend down. Hob level 16, but looks to have used exactly enough ethers. So not too much of a difference between 15 and 16. We're going to do slightly more damage with our spells, but not enough to change the amount of turns it's going to take. Same setup. We're going to hope to cast 3 Fraga charges per mage here. Sleep is a great starter. Sleep has a chance to sleep your mages. Usually they wake up by the next turn. Physical attack on first slot is also great. Alright, another physical attack. Very good Lich fight. And Lich down for Rob. Now here we have the last, in my opinion, last gill routing part that's very important to the run. As we head over to Crescent Lake. This is a very big setup part for the game after we fight Lich here. Looks like Hobb's going to get another chance at those X potions as they're heading back to Melman with this extra Lesser Tiger fight. Oh, no drop. Yet again, another three count of Lesser Tigers. I didn't see a drop there either. Again, it's a 2% chance, very low chance to drop. But with a lot of fights, you could almost expect to see it at some point. Looks like I'm just going to go back to get that silver armlet. It's going to help smooth out the defense on those black mages. We're going to have some river fights coming up, which can be very deadly. That silver armlet might save the life of one of those mages. So here we have the last major buy. It looks like Leggy has more than enough gil. We're looking to buy more potions, ethers, maybe an extra Phoenix down, some antidotes, gold needles if you use it a lot. But you gotta make sure you don't use too much gil. We need at least 26,000 to buy that double Thundaga charge. Very important for that one turn clear on the river, and also helps out with our ether usage. Otherwise, we'd have to be using Thundara here. Thundaras have a 2 to 3 spell usage on the river. We have to use them. Where Thundaga usually can clear within 1 to 2 spells. You compare it with the Thundara, you're able to end those fights within 1 turn. Looks like Leggy will be going into Ice Cave a little low on HP on that bottom mage. 129, very hard to see, compared to Hob having a 162 for the lower mage. What we're really hoping to see here is somewhere around 180 on those mages' health for Ice Cave. So for HP in this game, there are designated levels where your characters will get what's considered a good HP level up. Depends on the class type, but usually at least 20 HP. Whereas other levels, you're guaranteed at least 1 HP. But you have the chance of getting lucky and getting a good HP level up off of a non-designated HP level up. So if we get really lucky, we could see great stat growth on our black mages. We see that early on, we're probably going to see a lot of fleas out of our characters to save time, to just avoid encounters. But again, Chaos is very temperamental. The more HP we have there, the better. So it's very situational in nature, whether having more HP is going to help you. It could help you depending on which spells he casts, or he could just attack your mage and kill them first turn. As we'll most likely see later on today, we have 3 races happening today. All 3 Hob is running. Decided to run back-to-back race runs today. First it's Leggy, and then an hour after about an hour after this one. It's gonna be another race where I'm gonna be racing Hob, and then Hob's also taking a third race about an hour after that to fight or to race another one of the contenders. So here we see the white croc on Leggy's screen. Very good for experience and Gil, but can be very dangerous, especially with a crit. Could one-shot those black mages. It's also an encounter. If you don't have the intellect threshold, Thundaga is not going to one-turn clear. It's almost going to be better to just do double Thundar here. So Earth Cave would have helped out having the extra fires. Ice Cave, it also helps out having that fire charge. You'll be able to clear a lot of these encounters with Fyra. It saves you having to use Froga charges. The less time in the menu to ether up your characters, the better. Usually by now you're pretty smooth on how many ethers you have, but it definitely saves time not having to go back into that menu each time to have to add spell charges to your characters. Once again, we're seeing that Pisco Demon fight. Oh, Pisco Demon's taking out the lower mage. As we continue on, we're going to see more and more Pisco Demons. We have a chance of seeing 7 here in Ice Cave. Easy clear usually with Thundara or Thundaga, but they can still melee down your mages if they get good turn order against your team. But we're still looking to take some good Gil fights as we go in here. We do have one more major buy left over. We have a lot of time until then. We have a lot of pickups, and with the restore all pickups we still have to do at the Isles, we should be pretty set for Gil. But getting more is definitely helpful here. Generally, we'll see that big menu that we're going to have later on in Gaia. And if we're not able to pick up enough items or we use too many, you might see an extra item buy. But having your last shot be in Gaia is very great for time. They have not beat Carry yet. We beat Lish. Most likely what we're going to see is we're going to see Kraken, Tiamat, and then Carry last. Just because Carry you can fight earlier, but you can also leave it till the end. And if you leave it to the end, usually you're a little overpowered there. You can run away from everything and get through Mount Gulag pretty fast. So one of the fights we're hoping to see, but also not hoping to see here, is this White Dragon fight. They can cast Ice Storm, does about 100 damage. We can see up to 2 of those White Dragons. If they both get turn order and cast Ice Storm, it's pretty much game over there. But they are very good for experience and for Gil. So seeing them can be a good sight to see if we're trying to get a lot of good level ups. Looks like Leggy's going for the extra Gil chest here in Ice Cave. Probably hoping to do that single additional item buy in Gaia early on. So for Final Fantasy 1, in the original version, there were fights you can't run away from. In the Pixel Remaster, they took those away, but you do have a few encounters where they stand in your path, so you have to take those fights. Such as what we saw on Hob's screen. And we're also seeing a boss encounter here on Leggy's screen of this evil eye. In versions past, you could actually refight the evil eye, be able to farm it for experience, and move on. But here in Pixel Remaster, once you fight it once, it's gone. So, the runners will have to find their experience somewhere else. I think we're seeing a large contrast in HP level ups here between Leggy and Hab. You can see Hab has just very nice HP on the mages, 180 and 210, and a 270 on that monk. Where Leggy has gotten a few less good HP level ups. We're seeing a 160, a 180, and a 210 on that monk. Usually it can even out a little bit later on in the game, but it's definitely nice to see that early on. And we have Evil Eye clear on hub screen, so now both of our characters, our players, our runners, have the Levy Stone. They're going to be able to go ahead and head down to the desert, pick up the airship, and they're going to be able to fly wherever they want to on the map, not have to take traveling encounters other than when they're walking. It's going to greatly speed up the rest of the game here. On Leggy's screen, we have a somewhat of a rare encounter. The only encounter on the river where you don't have to cast Thundaga. You can cast Froggy here if you wanted to. The Nia Ochu is the only creature on the river that's does not have protection from fire attacks, being an undead creature. But however, it is not susceptible to fire either. So it will take 2 spells to clear. Looks like from damage output, Leggy's Black Mages still do not have that 30 intellect. I'll be doing about 220 damage to White Crocs on the river, instead of a very welcome 300. On hub screen, we're seeing a slight variation in that spell we talked about for Ice Storm. The wolves do not have nearly as much intellect, so they're going to do a much weaker version of it. Not as bad to see, but you can have a 5 or 7 stack. Could really wear down your HP if you haven't healed in a while, as well as the spell cast time is usually a little infuriating to have to sit through. Here we're seeing Leggy pick up the airship, and Hob close behind, having finished Ice Cave. Can also be heading down to pick up the airship. Note for the airship, if you can see the different terrain types, that green grass that we see is the only place where the airship can land. Any of the lighter grass colors or darker grass colors it cannot land on. So it's very situational in where you can land, such as the canoe can only go on rivers, the boat can only go to ports, the airship can only land on those very generic green tiles. It looks like Leggy's going to land and go ahead and pick up the extra gill, and also probably this X potion right here. So these isles here are homes to dragons and Bahamut. What you can choose to do is go to the Citadel up to the northeast, grab a rat tail at the end of essentially what it turns into a maze, turn it into Bahamut, and you will get class upgrades for all your characters. They're going to do more damage, they're just going to be better overall. It does cut some time in, and has been deemed generally just faster to avoid that and go with what you got. These isles are also home to what we saw, that elixir, that X potion, which is very welcome if we do not get the drop from the Lesser Tigers. It's going to be very important for the last fight we have. Leggy now heading over to Waterfall Cave to pick up another key item, while Hobbs picking up the airship. So for Waterfall Cave, there's a lot of good encounters here, depending on where you're at for experience. You could take more or less. Not too much anything that's going to be detrimental to our run. This Green Dragon is very good for experience, very good for Gil if you decide to take it. But it looks like Leggy's going to go ahead and push ahead for time. So once again, we see Leggy. She's getting a forced random encounter here. It's a 9 stack. Not too much anything we haven't dealt with before other than that King Mummy. Well, it looks like we low rolled on the King Mummy, which is a little bit unfortunate. Not having threshold yet on those mages. Here we are picking up the Warp Cube, which we'll be using later on, as well as a couple items we can sell for a lot of gil. We have Defender and Wizard Staff, which will sell for 20,000 and 25,000 gil. Since we do not use the fighter, we do not really need these items. We can sell them and able to buy better spells for our mages. And once again, this fight, this race is very neck and neck. We see both of our players at the same time in the Waterfall Cave. Contrast here, we're going to see Hob taking this Green Dragon fight, opting for the extra experience. We saw there it's 4,000 experience, 5,000 gil. Very nice to have to avoid having to go to the item shop later on. And Leggy heading out. It's going to be the last of our river encounters. We're going to see 1 to 2 more of these. few more steps here for the setup before we continue on. Oh, looks like the bottom mage has reached threshold. We see that 310 on that white croc. Very nice to see. Heading up to Caravan on Leggy's screen. Here's where we're going to be able to buy the bottled fairy from this Caravan trader. Bottled fairy we'll be using in a little bit, as well as going back in to buy 4 giant tonics, 6 speed drinks, very important for the Temple of Fiends later on. This bottled fairy we're going to be able to use to progress the game, be able to release it, and in exchange be able to get essentially what turns into a rebreather to head down to Sea Shrine so we can breathe while we're down there and fight Kraken. Here's that fairy being released. Here in Gaia, we're hoping that we can get enough items so we don't have to go to another item shop. Very dependent on how much gil we have, because we do need to pick up a lot of very expensive things. We have these Blizzagas. Looks like Liggy's going to go for a single Blizzaga. You could go for double, which is going to cost you 30,000 more. We have these Protect Rings, buying 3. Sometimes you'll see 1 or 2 being bought, depending on gil. 3 is very nice to give that extra little bit for the monk. And here's our item buy with 30,000 gil. We should be pretty much set for the rest of the game. Gonna max out high potions, ethers, looks like potions as well, and get a good portion of Phoenix Downs. Depending on deaths, we might have to come back and get some Phoenix Downs before Chaos Shrine. But we're definitely set on our health potions and our ethers. Here we see the key item Moxiol being picked up. This is the rebreathing device. It's going to allow us to go down to Sea Shrine. We have Hob close behind, going to the Caravan Trader. As Leggy's heading over to Onrak. Very nice walk to Onrak, no encounters. Hob heading over to Gaia. Close on Leggy's heels. So Sea Shrine's going to be very important here. Sea Shrine has a lot of good experience. Most fights are going to be single clears. This one right here with White Sharks is going to take 2 spells. Most of the other ones are going to take 1 spell charge. Later on, if we're able to get our mages up to 40 intellect, it's going to be in Temple of Fiends. You can actually get additional damage boost and be able to do 400 instead of 300 damage to these, and be able to do a single spell charge clear. Looks like we have a split action here. We're going to see that flee and that spell charge again. Those water elementals, very good for experience. Probably a very welcome sight here, trying to get those extra HP level ups. We'll see a contrast. We'll see double spell here where we didn't take the white shark and the regular shark. The deep eyes and the white shark are going to be very, very good for experience. Probably one of the best that you'll see unless you get a very good 9 stack of enemies. 2 white sharks, very welcome. Another really good one. But Sea Shrine overall is very good for experience. It's a very good chance to get your mages where you want to be. That way you can flee for the rest of the game. On this third floor, which is called the mermaid floor, here we're able to see the pickup here of the slab, which is going to allow us to continue to team out later on, as well as a pickup of that diamond armlet. Looks like Leggy's going to go for the diamond armlet set up on the monk. You also have the option of putting it on the mages, one of the best defense items in the game. It's going to help the monk survive a lot in the end game. So here we'll see the use of that Frogga charge. Not going to do that much, but since we need 2 spell casts anyways, it's going to round out that fight, and we're going to be able to get through with that fight in 1 turn. We're going to see Hob here cottaging up before on rack. You cannot cottage up in town. We'd have to go to the inn instead. Making use of that cottage, getting it out of our inventory, and heading down into Sea Shrine. There is a lot of time to come back. There's very temperamental bosses toward the end game, so don't count Hob out here yet, especially on the last boss. Very close race in consideration. We're seeing a nice single clear fight here on Leggy's screen. Not the best for experience, but very quick fight. Here's a great example of where fleas can fail you, and you can just be continually hit by those enemies. So it's a toss-up whether to flee or to cast spells. Again, finishing the fight, you have to go through that confirmation win window, whereas in fleeing, it just takes you back out, and you can continue running on. In this game, we get essentially 3 setups for a fight. We have the very welcome preemptive, where we're going to get a full set of turns before the enemy. We'll have the regular fight, where it's just very dependent on turn order, and the ambushes. They made it very interesting for ambushes. So for ambushes, the enemy team gets a turn, but depending on how many there are on the enemy team, only a certain amount get a turn. So if there are 4 enemies, they're all going to get a turn, but if we see a 9 stack of enemies, for example, only 6 of them are going to get a turn before the next round. Essentially programmed away here to assure that we just don't get pummeled 18 consecutive attacks. And we see Hob finishing up on the mermaid floor, heading down to Kraken. We got 2 pickups on this floor for Leggy's screen. We have essentially a booby-trapped chest that's going to have this random encounter setup we've seen so often. But in the chest, very important item, Giant's Gloves. Giant's Gloves can be equipped on the fighter, but we're going to use that as an item, which you can use in a lot of these Pixel Remaster games. To cast a spell, it's going to cast Saber, which is a very strong spell. Saber is going to increase the attack and the agility of the monk later on, which is going to allow us to buff the monk to take on these fiends. We're also going to see our second pickup of ribbon. We picked up one earlier on in Waterfall Cave. Here's our second ribbon. One of the best items here. It's going to help us a lot against spell attacks and status effects. We're going to picking up a third ribbon later on, but we'll have 2 now for our 2 black mages that are currently not petrified. And we're seeing probably the last encounter here on Leggy's screen before Kraken. Kraken, our second fiend we're fighting. It's going to require a total of 6 spells, 3 per black mage, hopefully. 3 Thundagas. Pretty consistent fight. What we're hoping not to see is physical attacks. We're hoping to really take advantage of, if any attacks do happen, that it happens on one of the first 2 slots. Very RNG based, depending on what Kraken decides to do here. A lot of this game is you can set up how you want, but then the enemy fiend or random encounter can just take you out. In a race scenario, it's very much pivoting off of those experiences. In a regular speedrun, usually it means a reset. And we're seeing a really good fight here from Leggy. One of the mages did go down, but since you have usually at least a 4th, sometimes a 5th Thundaga charge, you're able to make up for that last spell cast with the other mage. So we did see one mage get hit for quite a bit of damage, but Leggy was able to get through it pretty fine there. So that is our second fiend. There's a slight variation here depending on what the runners choose to do. Usually you'll see either them go to Mount Gulag or Mirage Tower, either to fight Malarith or Tiamat. Looks like Leggy is going to fight... Oh, nope, going down to Melmond, excuse me. So for Tiamat, we do need to head over to get that slab translated. So we can go to head to Lifinia and get the chime. With the chime, we're able to fight Tiamat. And we see Hab here taking probably the last fight before Kraken. With auto battle, you can set up in the fight before your spells, so you can just auto battle into the next one. Looks like that's what Hab's choosing to do here, having Thundaga set up to be able to take on Kraken. Leggy is going to Elfheim to pick up the haste. Looks like double haste pickup. Some runners you'll see grab one haste if they grab it earlier on. If they grab it later on, they usually grab two. This allows some pivoting. You only need to cast one haste on your monk later on. But having it on both mages gives you that improvisation, just in case one goes down. And Leggy did decide to go to Mount Golag first, so we'll see Tiamat second. Will we see Warmech? Who knows? We've seen it once on the hype race before this actual tournament started. And Kraken goes down for Hob. Very good fight. No resets needed. We saw it once. We might see it again. It's a very good chance we have a lot more races to go. So for Mount Gulag, most of these characters we've seen before. They're not going to do that much. The big thing here is these fire tiles. So you see we're taking damage from them. Take 1 point of damage per fire tile. It's going to slowly hurt our characters. The plus side for this is while on a fire tile you cannot get an encounter, but it does increase that encounter risk. So generally you'll see an encounter every 25 to 35 steps. With these fire tiles, you'll pretty much always see an encounter on the next tile available after a long stretch of running. You can skip an encounter if your next space you were supposed to go is supposed to be, say for example, the stairs, and you're able to get on the stairs on that step. It does skip that encounter and reset your step count, essentially, for your next encounter. So we can see a few skipped encounters, such as that first jaunt, if you're able to avoid all of the regular tiles. But most of the rest of these you're going to see as soon as we step on a regular tile again, we're going to get an encounter. And Hob getting the slab translated. Alright, so what we saw here on Leggy's screen was the switch for the monk. The monk is now in that last slot. So instead of being in the 25% targeting chance slot, it's going to be in a 12%, 12.5% slot. So less likely to get meleeed. So here's where we start our major boss strategy. We're going to choose to buff the monk to do major damage. The downside on this strategy is that if the monk gets killed, all that buff goes away when you revive it, making the fight either longer or having to reset. And pretty much all of our fiends can do melee damage in this later section and take out one of our characters. Just like that, that first black mage goes down. Carry here. You'll see Malarith. Carry is the name from earlier versions of the game. Carry can do magic spells, which are going to do about 100 damage here, so we can get through at least one of them. But the physical attack we definitely don't want to see. And Carry goes down. Only 1800 health, the weakest of the fiends. Very nice fight. See Hob, having translated the slab, having picked up the chime, is now heading back up. And we might see a variation here. We might see Tiamat first for them, or we might see another Mount Gulag. The one nice thing about this is there is world wrapping, so we can go ahead and head off to the edges of the map to basically come around the other side of the map here. And it seems like chat is very hopeful of a Warmech. Looks like Hob is going to go ahead and take Tiamat first, while we see Leggy going down to get the chime. contrast on Warmech, I've been running this game for a good stint of time and have not seen Warmech yet on the Pixel Remaster version. So it's not a fight you can expect to see. It's definitely not one that the runners want to see. Warmech is very hard to take on even at higher levels. And we have Hobbs starting the journey through Mirage Tower. Still a lot of good fights you can take here for experience to get those level ups. It looks like Hobbs is going to choose to flee. HP looks to be in a good value here. You have the monk at a very nice above 350. Above 300 is kind of where you want it. 350 is great. Any more is it just gets better and better from there. The mages you want to see usually above 240, so anything above that is also very welcome. Yeah, so one of our people in chat here, Sprint, is talking about casually playing the game and fighting Warmech at a very high level, which we won't see here in the speedrun. We get to maybe the very low 30s, depending on how many fights we take, and it's still being a very rough fight. It's definitely one of those occasions of a essentially what turns into an optional encounter, being very difficult to take, a lot harder than some of the other encounters in the game. Here we're seeing another one of those things that get into your path. Here we're seeing the blue dragon. I believe on Hobbs' screen it's the forced blue dragon, where Leggy's screen it's actually a random encounter. Another really good. Dragons are really great for experience, really great for gil. Not as good as that green dragon, but still really good if you're hoping to get more experience, hoping to get more gil. And with that, the warp cube we got earlier, we're able to get up into the flying fortress. So we see Hob now in flying fortress. Here in the Flying Fortress, we'll be able to find our last ribbon. Currently on the screen that Hobbs on. That's going to go onto our monk, rounding out our equipment for the game, and essentially the last pickup we have here. Minus maybe Elixir and Temple of Fiends. But sometimes here you'll see a route deviation. Some people like to, after the ribbon, to unpetrify the monk to get an extra set of flee checks. Some people leave them all the way up to Tiamat. Some people change the monk slot. You know, as we saw, we had to unpetrify the monk for Leggy since Malirith was taken first. So a lot of variations on when the monk comes out. Again, in the speedrun scenario, no real right way to do it, because the game could decide that your way that you did it was wrong and just start killing people, or give you a lot of flee checks and whatnot. So a lot of different variations you can play of Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster and still get a really great time. The interesting thing about the floor that Hob just completed where you can go in almost any direction, and it wraps around to find the exit. The floor it is on now is referred to as the Bridge of Destiny. It's the floor some of our chatters are hoping to see the lovely Warmech make an appearance. Again, already made an appearance in the hype run at the beginning of our tournament. We have a chance to see it again, but I would say statistically, those odds are much lower. We see Leggy's HP on character starting to even out a little bit, starting to get to where she probably wants them. And we see Hab gear up here for the team-up fight. Probably one of the scarier first set of Fiend fights. A lot of AoE spells that can wipe you pretty quickly. We're probably going to see some high potions on this fight compared to other ones, because we do not have enough turns, usually, to get the monk where we want the monk to be before Tiamat has a chance to wipe out our monk. So we're going to see the strategy here. We're going to use that Giant's Glove. We're going to use the Haste. We're going to use the Temper. Giant's Glove, buffing both attack and agility, giving us more hits, giving us stronger hits. Temper going to also buff attack. It's going to be a little bit weaker. So where Saber does both, it does 16 on attack, where Temper does 14. Haste, we talked about a little earlier, doesn't actually do anything tangible in effect, except where it ups the multiplier on number of hits that can be taken. So you start off with a ×1, that gives us a ×2 for hits. It's going to be a spell that's going to allow you to counter Slowra. Oh, and getting hit with those AoE spells. Looks like Hab's going to have to take another go at Tiamat, while Leggy takes their first attempt. AoE spell starter, it's not what we're hoping to see. Hoping to see the best case scenario is a physical attack on that fighter up top. Second AoE spell takes out those black mages. Gonna have to resort to use a... Oh, not even a high potion here, just gonna go for it. Fortunately, it's gonna be another reset for Leggy. I'm getting some good luck here with that physical attack I was talking about on the top slot, giving essentially what turns into a free turn. And gets to start punching. Oh, a nice low roll on that physical attack for the monk. We're gonna see a high potion on the monk, but it looks like it's not needed at all. Able to clear Tiamat. So both players having cleared 3 fiends. Leggy working on the 4th, while Hab's gonna make that run into Mount Gulag. Still a very close race, all considering. Leggy getting trolled pretty bad here. Let's get first hit. Can we get a second? Nope, we get AoE poison gas. Tiamat just not letting Leggy through. Leggy putting up a very, very good race at the moment. Leggy accidentally chose a thief out the gate. Had to restart after Garland noticed it on Garland, putting them about 5 minutes behind, able to make up a good chunk of that time. Still a very close race. Depending on how long Tiamat decides to troll Leggy, we could see both of our players reach Chaos Shrine to head to the Temple of Fiends about the same time. So we see Hab able to do the diagonal walking to avoid a lot of those regular tiles. That's what you're hoping to see on this first floor, because you can avoid that encounter. When you reach the stairs, it's going to reset for the next floor. It's what you're hoping to see there. It's one of the 2 floors where you can actually avoid getting an encounter altogether. That one with proper movement, and then also the next floor, which is just completely lava all the way to the stairs. One thing you're really hoping for is good turn order. So you saw that temper, we saw that attack, we saw that high potion. We're hoping that high potion goes out before Tiamat. We're hoping that temper goes out before the monk attacks. And we're hoping that the monk attack gets in, hopefully before Tiamat decides to throw something that could nerf the monk. But able to clear it, Leggy's moving on now to Chaos Shrine, with Hob almost to Malirith. What we might see here is either one of the players might decide to go to Cornelia to pick up, in Leggy's case, I believe, additional Phoenix Downs, possibly. I'm not exactly sure where Hob is at in terms of ethers and high potions. Here we see Leggy in the shrine, gonna go ahead and head off into the past to take care of this threat. The fiends, which were sent from the past to the future, or essentially slept for that long. And then ultimately Chaos, which is a very much changed Garland. Temple of Fiends, very good area for experience should you choose to take it. It looks like Leggy's going to take a few of these encounters to round out a few of those HP values. Kind of your last chance to get those HP values before Chaos. We're hoping to see some good HP values before Lich as well. Lich being able to do pretty much the only AoE spell that can wipe us with Flare, very strong Flare attack that does usually over 300 damage. But we have a good many number of floors we have to go through before we actually reach the Fiend floors. So a lot of time to get more experience, to get more HP. We see Hob here going to Cornelia to pick up more items. Personally, I really like the stop off in Cornelia, especially if you're down on Phoenix Downs. Usually what tends to happen is you don't need too many Phoenix Downs up until Temper of Fiends. Usually each Fiend kills off your Black Mages. So you'll need at least 8. If you get unlucky with some of these encounters, you might need a few more if you choose not to reset. Such as these Green Dragon encounters right here. You can just get hit by Poison Gas if you get a 4 stack and end up dying. Very lucky able to flee there. So normally what we see is High Potion Ether buys. Usually not enough Phoenix Down buys, so going to Cornelia usually is Phoenix Down buys. But while you're there, might as well top off your Ethers, top off your High Potions. So one of the last of our forced encounters here. This Death Eye standing in the way before we can head down. Pick up that extra elixir, looks like Leggy's doing, as well as you'll see this mirrored image of pulling out this tile as we did for going down into Lich. Kind of a mirrored aspect, if you will. Alright, so we have both of our runners now in racing down to chaos. See how here taking on the Evil Eye? The Evil Eye, a mimic basically of the Death Eye. Mimic of the Evil Eye. Unfortunately, it does not give good experience, does not give gil, it's just 1 and 1 of each, because they are required to give at least 1. I'm doing a slight variation on this room, going to lift up the tile first, before picking up the elixir. Usually, I like to pick the elixir first and then go get the tile, because you're pretty much assured not to get an extra encounter here. Doing it the other way around, you risk getting an encounter. Able to get out of the room without an encounter. So once we start to get to the Fiend floors, we're going to see definitely a mirror of the enemies we saw going into each location. Earth Cave, and then Mount Gulag, and then Sea Shrine, and then Flying Fortress. Before then, we're going to see a great smattering of different characters. We see Leggy on actually the Lish's floor, so we're going to see a lot of Earth-based creatures. Things that usually are susceptible to fire. And Leggy, she's setting up for a Lich fight. With what looks like Hob close behind. Maybe 3 random encounters behind you. Very close race. Oh, that flare. Very hurtful, as you can see, 250, basically taking out those black mages from the get-go. Lich can be just different things here. Could do these attacks here we see that essentially miss. Then we can see other attacks here that are just flares. Or physical attacks. So that physical attack luckily only did 9 damage. Low rolling with only 800, gonna go for it. Lich does not have a lot of health. Able to clear, having 10 HP on that monk. Wow. First of our 4 fiends down. What you hope not to see is a double flare here, because that's pretty much a fight ender. And we see Hob right behind on the Lich fight. Getting a great start to the fight here. Just really showcasing the difference of RNG on Lich. Yeah. Whew. And down goes Lich. Bye-bye, Lich. Definitely a difference in RNG. But Leggy definitely able to show off that with 1 flare you can still survive and go on. But yeah, still very close. We have Hob just entering floor while Leggy is taking out Malaya. It's still pretty much anyone's game, as we still have Chaos at the end. Chaos is your big time sink, depending on how many times it takes you to face. Chaos gives you the nod and lets you through. It could be a first turn, or it could hold you up for, you know, any amount of time, really. Considering how this all started, this is still a very close race. We've had runners in front of each other back and forth. And now we're both... we see Leggy completing Malireth as Hob enters Malireth. So Mount here, we're really just hoping not to get physical attacked. Hob able to take one physical attack on the nose here with the monk. But what you could see is just high rolls down the line with Mount taking out your mages, taking out your monk, ending the fight pretty fast. As I said before, when you start to buff characters, if the character dies, they lose that buff. So, and Malai's starting to just take characters out down the line, but able to get that damage in before Malai's is able to clear. Good fight, good fight. So next we have essentially a copy of the Sea Shrine 4. Same enemies, higher count stacks. They can hold you up here, but they're very good for experience. These water elementals, these water nagas. You can take with the water elemental is going to be a single Blizzaga. Water naga is usually taking 2. Very good for experience, should you need it. Kind of like Leggy here. Leggy going for a split strat still. Going with that Blizzaga Flea. If we get that Blizzaga, fine. If we don't, okay. It's also very nice to have that spell cast on these 2 turns. Even if you don't, you're not looking for it. Clear out those water elementals. They hit like a tank. Clear those out. Able to get a flea. Less turns you have to wait if you keep missing your flea checks. When Hob getting probably one of the scariest fights here with the water elementals and water nagas. Again, if all 3 characters miss their flea checks, you gotta wait another 8 attacks through, hoping to get those flea checks in early. Getting good turn order on those fleas. Very scary fight. Here we see Leggy and Kraken. Kraken pretty much not doing anything, kind of like Malirith. You're just hoping not to see a physical attack. That's a downside caveat too. You could see buff, we get through the first 2 turns, and then just high roll hit on that monk, essentially ending the fight. So Leggy we saw earlier pick up a few extra speed drinks, looks to be using those speed drinks now. All things considered, pretty inexpensive for being able to throw it. It only costs 1,000 gil to pick up. Whereas it's going to give a few extra hits here, we're going to be able to get through Kraken pretty fast. And Kraken goes down. As Hob entering Kraken. We're still neck and neck. I feel like we're going to be here and Chaos is going to decide the winner. Oh, and we saw that unfortunate hit here on the monk. So in this situation, you have 2 things you can do. Either we grab up that monk and start over, or we can defend here like Hob's doing. Essentially, if we're casting spells and whatnot, it doesn't matter, it's just wasting time. Defending, we're basically saying Kraken, kill us. We want that quick save to be able to restart. The other end of that is that you can't exit out of the game. We have seen problems. One of our runners, their Steam essentially would not let them get back into the game. And it's a little bit slower, but then you have the reverse side of the coin. Kraken can decide not to hit anybody as you're defending, waiting to die. So again, there's another situation where there's no right way to go about it. You can end the fight by exiting out of the game. You can just defend and hope to get killed. There's no right way. There's no way that's assured to be faster. And Kraken just going down the line, hitting. Looks like the monk has enough damage. Should be able to get through here. Some good turn orders. And we're seeing 2 fiends go down. Leggy finishing up Tiamat. Hob finishing up Kraken. Leggy going to be able to go on to Chaos, where Hob's still very close behind. Tiamat floor has usually 1 random encounter until Tiamat, and then 1 random encounter here on this last floor of the shrine before we reach Chaos. Still very close. We're going to see a little bit different, maybe different approach here. Leggy does have a lot less HP than Hob, but has a little time on Hob, so if Chaos just gives some good attacks, some good turn orders, we could see first turn Chaos here. You can go into Chaos with as much HP as you want, and Chaos just troll you to death. So a lot of spells. Chaos has a lot of spells at their disposal. We're hoping for lower level AoEs. We have that fighter still petrified up top. We're hoping for a physical attack against that fighter. Kiraja early is very nice. We saw that attack there. Very nice first turn. Kiraja early on. This is just a waste of a healing spell. Slowra on someone other than Monk is great. Essentially what we're hoping to see here is we get those giant tonics off. We're able to get that Monk up to pretty close to max 999 HP. And then we start buffing the Monk. Chaos just saying no. No to the Black Mages. We're hoping to not see any of the higher level spells like Tsunami, Cyclone, and Blaze. Doing about 200 damage. We see the Aga spells, which are going to do somewhere between 100 to 150. If we do see a spell, we're hoping for Earthquake, because we're immune by now. Hoping to see Blizzara, but definitely not Flare. Flare does like 400. Luckily, we should have a good amount of Restore All potions at our disposal. If we get good turn order here. Yeah, melee attack. Ending this round. As we see Hob here going into Chaos. And just like that, we are again neck and neck. This is one of the fights that you can definitely do everything right, and it just is taken away from you. You could get up where the Monk needs one last hit, and then just taken away from you. Different ways to do this starting piece. Giant's Tonic usually is the way to go to start off getting that Monk where he's not one-shottable. Getting that haste in there to get that times multiplier early. Without it, you need a lot more buffs, so that haste is very important. Other than that, once we get that through, the Black Mages are pretty much just fodder. If they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. But the Monk can keep themselves alive, usually without Elixir or X Potion. But very unlucky turn order again here for Hob. Gonna have to take the fight over again. And looks like Leggy's also gonna have to take this fight over again. So very much just back and forth, back and forth. Who's gonna get there first? In a regular single speedrun, this is also basically the gatekeeper on a great time. You could get here with a great sub 2-hour run, and then Chaos just be like, nope, you get a 220. Absolutely brutal. So it does help with HP, but as you see, even Hob here with more HP is being just flattened. Good first turn for Leggy. Both teams having that first mage taken out. Yes, very, very right. Chaos wants to be the one to win here. It is not runner versus runner here. It is runners versus Chaos. Ooh, that's Slowra on Leggy. Very unfortunate. Luckily, it can be countered. We can do another haste to fix that. Otherwise, that could go pretty bad. We see the Monk down here on Hob's screen. Looks like another reset for Hob. Leggy getting pretty close here, being able to get a good amount of buffs. Blizzara is definitely what we want to see. We are definitely in the point here where that Black Mage going down from a single target attack. You know, not too bad of an option at this point. As we see Hob head back into Chaos. Leggy gonna go for a safety elixir to get back up to almost max HP here. And going in for the attacks. About 25. Oh, there's a 3,000 there. Alright, looks like we're gonna have about 8 attacks here. Gonna hope to get good turn order. Ah, gets hit with that melee. That's unfortunate. Pop here getting flared. It's another one you can see. You can see just a double flare. I'm not sure if we've seen it yet, but Chaos can also haste themselves and then hit for anywhere between 800 to over 1,000 damage. Pretty much saying, I don't care how much health you have, Monk. Not today. And Tsunami mercy killing this round of attacks for Hob. So you see Leggy start up another round here. This is what I was talking about earlier on getting a minimum health stack on your black mages. We're seeing that 120, we're seeing that 240 on attacks. We want them to be able to survive at least one spell, maybe two, depending on what AoE spells Chaos decides to put out. That's a very unfortunate haste. Puts Leggy in a very unfortunate situation. Should haste connect with physical attack, it's going to do a lot of damage. If we do get a haste, we hope to see Chaos keep hasting, because after the first haste, all the rest of the hastes are absolutely just worthless. Black Mage is down on Leggy's screen. Still getting these saber attacks. Here we see an attack. 3,000. Looks pretty good. Aw, but Chaos decided to use a physical attack. Chaos just not letting anybody have a good time here. It's very much just RNG. Depending on what you get. I mean, because Chaos could get an attack in, you decide to queue up an elixir to heal your monk, and then Chaos gets first turn on that too, taking him out. Some good turns here on both screens. We're seeing a missed attack, we're seeing slower on the top target. Hob has 5k damage. Able to safety elixir here. Nice free turn. One more attack. Oh, it gets good turn order, and that's Chaos down for Hob. Good job, Hob. Definitely running behind for most of the race. We were definitely able to see Chaos able to just gatekeep and allow a win to the what turned out to be the underdog. Hello, Hob. Good race.
Oh, what a run. How did it go? I have absolutely no idea. I didn't watch anything. Tell me.
It came down to Chaos.
Oh my lord.
As it should.
Oh my lord.
So, how'd you feel your run went?
I actually have to say it was a fantastic run outside of the early game. My Elfheim grind went terrible, just Shogans everywhere. That cost me like, just looking at my splits, I was like 3.5 minutes behind just from that at Astos. And aside from that, I was constant on PB pace except for the Tiamat 1 and Kraken 2 death. I was constantly on PB pace. Just these 3 minutes 30 behind from the early game. So I'm really happy with the run, to be fair. Just, well, chaos be chaos and the early game.
You were definitely able to turn it around there toward the end.
I have to say, I just saw in the race time chat that Leggy also picked the Thief at the start. I really think that was the deciding factor in the end. Could have been.
I mean, looking at these times, GG Leggy.
That time loss.
Leggy was able to take Chaos down. Yeah, that time loss was brutal. Leggy was able to make it up, but Chaos ended up being the deciding factor there.
Oh boy.
Hello, Leggy.
Hi.
Hello.
So yeah, about my first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
To be fair, you weren't the only person who did dumb things. I also just not that dumb. Like before going to Siege Shrine, I wanted to use a cottage before entering a town. I accidentally used the gold needle instead on my warrior.
No.
I'm just happy that I noticed what happened there and was able to just immediately quit out the title screen, load autosave, and lost only 30-45 seconds with it. But
well, that's good.
Just one wrong step there that could have been very oof. Then again, in Siege Shrine, you luckily do have that one Forest Cockatrice encounter still, so
yeah, it's recoverable.
Yeah.
How was Chaos for you?
The first few times, pretty mean. The last attempt, very, very tame.
You only had 3 attempts. Damn.
I had 3 or 4 attempts.
It was very close there. I think you only got in 1 chaos before Hab was able to enter and start their chaos runs.
Yeah, because I had at least 5 or 6.
Yeah, ouch.
I think Hab had some longer ones.
Yeah, luckily... Yeah, I definitely had some super fast ones, which was nice.
It was a sight behold coming into when you guys were in Temple of Fiends, because you were literally finishing up Fiend fights when Hab was starting. It was so close, and it just came down to chaos in the end. That's
how the game be. That's how the game be.
Yeah, no, I made one really bad mistake, but otherwise I feel like I played really well. For a while there, I'm well, based on how this run is going, I might have to retime it without, the first reset just to see how this compares against PB. Chaos, of course, said, no, you don't need to worry about that, but that's beside the point.
Just a little something that I'd wonder, even with the Thief restart, did you split? And if yes, what was your Astos?
Yeah, so with the Thief, split, because I just left my timer going. So 10-minute loot, let's go! But yeah, my Astos split was at 24. Basically flat.
Alright, yeah, then you, even with the worst start, you definitely got pulled through better. I wanted to do some grinding before Alfheim. First time I started, I didn't even have enough for Fandara, and then just Shoguns everywhere.
Yeah,
so my Astos was a 2740.
Got it. Yeah, no, I had some really good early luck with money. I found an ogre on my way to Provoca, and then my first sea encounter was 3 pirates.
Nice.
But yeah, no, this definitely sounds like one we're gonna need to go back and watch.
Definitely. Especially with the sounds of the endgame being so close.
Yeah.
Also with the Fiends trolling me a little bit. I mean, had a Tiamat 1 death, had a Kraken 2 death.
I had a couple of Lich deaths. I took a handful of resets on Tiamat 1. My monk only had 250 HP, so I bought an extra Giant's Tonic for Tia 1, and I could not set up on her to save my goddamn life.
I was actually really, really happy on HP. At the end of Siege Shrine, I had a 370 Monk, a 290 Black Mage, and a 250 Black Mage. So after Siege Shrine, I definitely stopped fighting immediately, and then just the Fiend battles gave me some more level ups, actually putting my Monk over 400 as well. HP-wise, the run was really, really nice. The money route very early on was insanely bad, but after Lich, everything fell into place and worked perfectly for me.
I think I ended the run with a 320 HP Monk.
That is rough.
Yeah, I mean, not my favorite in the world, I'll say.
I assume as much. Alright, so we could definitely talk a lot longer, but I feel our time frame is slowly running out, and I really want to catch dinner before I obliterate Capt in a few hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've got another victory to go pick up.
I'm gonna start the trash talking after this.
Let's go!
Alright. Thank you, both runners. Thank you, Hab. Thank you, Leggy. That was a great race. Definitely really fun to commentate. As they were saying, we do have a few more races today on this channel, on SpeedGaming 2.
in a little less than an hour and 40 minutes, you're going to see Hab again against myself for another race. And then 30 minutes after that, you're going to see Hab facing a third challenger. So it should be a lot of Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster race today. In the meantime, there's a lot going on the other channels. SpeedGaming 5, you'll see some Azure Dreams, as well as the other SpeedGaming channels. So check those out. Hit some of those follow buttons to come back. There's a lot of great content, a lot of good races going on. Make sure you follow these runners if you want to see them do some more Pixel Remaster runs. And until then, thank you, racers, and everyone have a good rest of your day.